Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us for our webinar, Defending Enterprise Data from Mobile Threats, which we're very happy to be hosting with Miercom. My name is Yael Macias. I am the Product Marketing Manager for Mobile Security here at Checkpoint, and I am happy to introduce Rob Smithers, who's the CEO of Miercom, who will be presenting this webinar with us today. Now, just a few quick housekeeping items before we begin. All lines have been muted for the duration of today's session, but please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A box in Zoom. Please avoid using the chat because it is easier for us to track the questions from the Q&A box. We'll take some time, of course, at the end to answer all of your questions, and if we don't get to everyone or if we run out of time, we'll be sure to follow up with you later. And we will also be sending the webinar replay in the upcoming days. Welcome, and now without any further ado, let's get started. So in our agenda for today, we'll cover the following. First of all, a new paradigm. The world has become mobile. Then what are the mobile threats to the enterprise? Then we'll move on to SandBlast Mobile, Checkpoint's market-leading mobile threat defense solution. And then I'll hand it over to Rob, who will explain Miercom's entity industry assessment of late 2019. What are the future trends in the market? And of course, as I mentioned, we'll leave some time for questions and answers towards the end. So everything is connected in a mobile world. The world has become mobile. Everything is connected. The traditional IT perimeter has disappeared. Data no longer roams within a defined perimeter. Instead, we are constantly connected to corporate information by means of mobile devices. The remote office, as we all know, is the new reality, especially in these days. As of 2018, and probably this figure is even higher today in 2020, 63% of all web traffic came from mobile devices, which means it has further surpassed the traffic that comes from PCs. And then enterprises are embracing mobile programs, but they still present challenges. There's a whole set of ways to approach enterprise mobility, whether it's BYOD, corporate, hybrid programs, but they still present challenges for organizations in terms of employee acceptance, deployment, management, and security. And what does it mean? What does it entail, the fact that the world has become mobile? Well, that mobile threats continue to rise. There is not a week that goes by without a new mobile attack or vulnerability that makes it to the headlines. Operating system vulnerabilities for both iOS and Android, phishing campaigns that aim to steal credentials, adware campaigns, mobile malware campaigns. Here in this slide, we can see some examples of attacks and vulnerabilities for both iOS and Android that were discovered in the last couple of years. And by the way, several of them were discovered by our own threat research team here at Checkpoint. So we know that mobile devices get infected. It happens. But how does it actually happen? How does a mobile device get infected? Well, we can talk about three main vectors of attack. The first one, applications, whether it's malicious apps or applications that look that are seemingly legitimate, but they actually have malicious code embedded within them. Or applications that just exploit the privileges that us users give to them. We can all think, for example, about, I don't know, we give our phones to our kids and they download these games, and suddenly the app is asking for all these accessibility permissions. Then why does this game need access to my microphone, my camera, my contacts, my agenda? We don't even think about that, and we just accept. And then obviously organizations, I won't say they abuse, but they gather as much data as they can. And then vulnerable apps, which can be exploited by hackers to root or jailbreak a device. Then on the network side of things, phishing campaigns that aim to steal credentials. 90% of cyber attacks begin with a phishing campaign. And this is especially relevant for mobile devices, since due to the small screen, it is harder to discern legitimate URLs from malicious ones. Or sometimes malicious URLs that are not even a phishing campaign, but they can redirect to malicious sites and make us download malicious files to the device. And maybe the most common one, or the one that you've probably heard about the most, are man-in-the-middle attacks. An attacker can intercept all the traffic that happens between an unsuspecting user and a rogue Wi-Fi access point. And without knowledge to the user, all the data that is in transit can be decrypted, altered, and leaked, of course. And finally, the device and the operating system, whether it's misconfigurations of the device that can make it vulnerable to remote exploits, whether it's rooting or jailbreaking the device that can be voluntary or involuntary, or the outdated operating systems. Many times we run outdated and therefore unpatched version of the operating system, and that way we're exposing ourselves to get attacked with known vulnerabilities. So we know that mobile attacks are happening, and we know how they can happen. But this is not only a problem for the users themselves, this is also a very big problem to organizations because the damages can be real. We are talking about compromised email, stolen credentials that can then be reused for the sake of breaching corporate applications. We can talk about device takeover, data theft, and of course, regulatory fines. In the era of GDPR, we can no longer ignore the threats that mobile devices can pose to the data of an organization. And this is when SandBlast Mobile comes into play. SandBlast Mobile prevents mobile cyber attacks. It prevents malicious app downloads. It prevents phishing across all apps, no matter whether it's a known or an unknown phishing site and which platform is being used to channel the phishing link. SandBlast Mobile will protect against it. SandBlast Mobile also prevents man-in-the-middle attacks. It blocks infected devices from accessing corporate apps and, of course, prevents operating system exploits. So what are the main benefits that an organization will see by deploying SandBlast Mobile? First of all, full visibility on the incoming mobile threats, thanks to the cloud-based dashboard. And here I would like to make an important point. What organizations have is a lack of visibility, not a lack of mobile threats to their organization. It's very easy to ignore something that one does not see. If an organization doesn't have the tools to see that their organization can be exposed by means of mobile devices, then they're never going to address that risk because they're just not aware. So thanks to SandBlast Mobile, organizations will be able to have full visibility on the risk posture of their fleet of mobile devices. Then another of the key benefits is that it's easy to deploy and to integrate with existing solutions. It leverages the world's largest threat intelligence engine, which is Checkpoint's Threat Cloud, that collects information from our hundreds of thousands of endpoints and gateways worldwide. And it ensures regulatory compliance in your data handling to address matters such as GDPR. So how do we do that? How does SandBlast Mobile work? Well, remember the three main vectors of attack? Those also entail our three main layers of protection. SandBlast Mobile uses unique features and capabilities to protect against the three main vectors of attack. First, the operating system protection. It actively scans for OS exploits, vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, advanced jailbreak and routing techniques. The admin can then set the risk level that each of these poses and then alert the user if he's using an unpatched version of the operating system. App protection. Here we leverage Checkpoint's unique BRE, Behavioral Risk Engine, which you may have heard about from other of Checkpoint technologies. Here in the Behavioral Risk Engine, applications are run in a cloud-based environment to scan for threats and deem whether they're malicious or not. And this is done using several capabilities such as machine learning, artificial intelligence, emulation and sandboxing, advanced code flow analysis, and lots of industry feeds. So SandBlast Mobile can block the download of applications from unknown sources, hence relieving the pain of sideloading of apps. And every time a user downloads an application, they can see on the Protect app a detailed analysis of the app they have downloaded and the access privileges it has. And finally, network protection. This is probably Checkpoint's main differentiator when it comes to mobile threat defense. We use a unique technology called on-device network protection, which extends Checkpoint's core network security capabilities to mobile devices too. So those technologies that you've probably have heard about for many years, such as URL filtering, anti-bot, anti-phishing, safe browsing, HTTPS inspection, can now work on mobile devices too. So how does the solution look like? In very high level, we have on the one side the client, which is the Protect app. And on the other hand, we have the cloud-based dashboard, which allows for complete threat visibility, real-time risk assessments, granular policy settings for organizational groups, and a very easy and intuitive management for the IT admin. And I mentioned this before, SandBlast Mobile fits in your existing environment. One doesn't need to do magic to make it work with their existing IT architecture. So we integrate with all market-leading SIEMs. We also integrate with all UEMs or mobile unified endpoint management or mobile device management solutions out there. Some of them you've probably have heard about for the past several years. I just want to make a brief note here to mention that we recently added Jamf to our portfolio of supported MDMs. For those who are running iOS fleets only, Jamf manages Apple devices, and now they can add a critical layer of protection to the iOS fleet of mobile devices for those customers who are using Jamf. And also important to note that we support Android enterprise deployments. Doesn't matter what kind of configuration we are using for the Android enterprise deployment. And finally, of course, we integrate with Azure Active Directory, with ADFS, etc. And as for our in-house solutions, we are part of Checkpoint Infinity. Those who have seen the slogan of Checkpoint Infinity, Cloud Mobile Threat Prevention, well, SandBlast Mobile is a key component of it. And we also integrate with R80. So to summarize about SandBlast Mobile, we provide true threat prevention, real-time visibility into attacks, and an elegant user experience. And this is what makes us the leader in mobile security. Now, here is when I'm gonna hand it over to Rob Smithers from Miercom, who is going to explain to us how they conducted their independent testing and why was SandBlast Mobile awarded the Miercom Certified Secure Award. Rob, all yours.
Hey, Ayal, thank you for that warm introduction, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking the time. Very excited to show our most recent test results on mobile threat defense products that we've looked at, and have some exciting results to show you. Well, they're exciting to us, anyhow. I think they'd be exciting to you. I hope they are. But with no further ado, Miercom, we've been testing for over 30 years. Security testing, all sorts of independent, competitive product reviews. We do this because we like it. We think we're pretty good at it. But it only gets better based on your feedback and things that you want to see. Ultimately, we work for you. Those are people that are employing these technologies, service providers and partners which are selling these technologies. And it's our goal to just recommend the best products and also give feedback to the vendor community. You know, how can they improve their product? Nobody's perfect, neither are we. So that feedback loop is very important to us. And again, thank you for letting us share these results with you. Let's go. Next slide. Okay, just 1 second, we'll advance the slide. There we go. A little bit about the MTD market. Projected over 3.5 billion mobile devices in the world. B with a billion. Lots of these devices, huge attack surface as far as them being exposed, becoming a possible penetration point into your business. So it is huge. The number is just sheer. And the problem you have with that is there's a lot of one-off solutions, but you need to look at something that's going to protect your fleet, protect your whole group of employees, your whole family, those that you hold dear to you. You want to get blanket coverage across the board because there's just too many of them. Not to mention, there's also guest users and in the BYOD movement, everybody has their own. So it's a formidable challenge to provide protection for such a large attack surface. Another key point that our research showed is the amount of phishing attacks. 83% of them are coming from the mobile apps and SMS involved. So it's not just an email anymore. You can't just have a good, spam filter and a good firewall that'll detect that inbound to your company. You actually have to also have something on the mobile device, because the phishing attacks are being born through the mobile devices as well. And as Ayal pointed out, man-in-the-middle spoof attacks dramatically increasing. And I think most people don't realize how easy it is to fall victim of a man-in-the-middle attack. You could just go to a Starbucks and connect to the local network and go ahead and check your email, or maybe you pay a bill or something. And that whole time, you were being monitored. They captured your certificates. They have your whole dialogue. They have your passwords now. And it was totally transparent to you, because these fronts are set up so well, public internet sites and other sites that are intentionally maliciously put out there. I have a Wi-Fi security review, which we looked just into that. But your mobile threat defense could protect you from man-in-the-middle attacks if you have a good MTD solution. Another key point, last takeaway on that chart, that on this table, is the vast disparity between how well these vendor solutions work. In particular, how quickly they can detect a known threat. Most of them do pretty good, assuming they know the threat and time to detect. But the time to learn is a very critical metric that we looked at. How soon can a vendor detect a new, say, a zero-day vulnerability, a newly discovered threat? Through, Yale mentioned, Checkpoint has a good security research team on this. How quickly can they discover a new threat? And how quickly can they then protect, the time to protect, to push that information out, to broadcast it out to all the protected endpoints to provide the protection? So we're looking at time to detect, time to learn, and time to protect. Not just who can stop the most malware. That's one part of the study, but we want to look at the whole process of discovering new malware, stopping it, and preventing it. So we're going to look at a complete solution. Okay, we try to advance the slide. Our independent study, Mobile Threat Defense, this was not funded by any particular vendor. This is our study. We publish it every year. This one came at the close of last year. All vendors in the mobile threat defense, mobile threat protect market are included in the study. We always prefer to have the vendor represent themselves. Every vendor has an opportunity to submit their product free of charge to participate in the review. So we offer this report independently. There'll be a link at the end of the report so that you can download the study at your convenience. Some of the key findings from the study, to echo one of Yale's points, organizations are becoming borderless. It's not so much, oh, all of our corporate computers have endpoint protection and our firewall's solid and they're the only ones who can log in. We're allowing BYOD environment, people to have their mobile phones. We're asking more for our mobile workforce. And in this day and age, even with current conditions now, a lot of people are doing the more mobile access to enterprise apps in the cloud and as well as their corporate. So we're letting users use their private devices more so, and more mobile access to data makes it important. The SandBlast Mobile addresses all the security and compliance challenges, which is above and beyond for mobile networking, and it provides 99% protection from all the threats that we looked at, and 100% of the use case security scenarios were thwarted. So that's very important in the competitive comparison. Fine. This sums up our test results pretty clearly on the main components, I think, for comparing industry average being several vendors evaluated all the others, and then checkpoint on the left for protective feature, network attack prevention, device vulnerability, the ability to remediate and fix the problem, and then overall ease of use. If it's not easy to use, people aren't going to use it. So it's got to be there. It's got to be transparent. So congratulations to Checkpoint for reaching a 99.8 near perfect scores, but there's always room for a little improvement. But I'm going to compare to the average of the other vendors on the marketplace, including some that cost a lot more, 78.4%. So much, much more work to do in the marketplace. Always opportunities to improve in mobile threat defense, but congratulations to Checkpoint. Our test environment that we use state-of-the-art test tools. We also use open source products, real mobile devices, different Android, wide array of Android devices, iPhone, of varying versions and hardware types. So we try to mix it up very well with the actual clients tested. We apply our proprietary security test suite. More details on how the testing was done. If you'd like to repeat this testing in your own environment, we're happy to help you. Encourage you to contact us, download our report at the end of this presentation. There'll be a link there. Feel free to shoot us a question. We'll contact you as well, return response, to help you with your evaluation. The 4 areas that we looked at for test results, we'll scan through these briefly. Protective features, Checkpoint scoring 97.2, industry average 66% for everyone else. This is fabulous. And look at those very nice scores on Checkpoint. This is not normal. We don't expect a vendor to max out. In fact, we pride ourselves on keeping our malware sets very current, very lethal, very challenging. Look at the zero-day malware, the third row there. The 83.3, that is excellent. That's malware that was made new. That's custom crafted malware, some that our engineers made, that didn't exist. It wasn't on any lookup list. It wasn't on any signature base. So Checkpoint had to discover it by behavioral. Hey, this doesn't look right. And or sandboxing. It put the malware on its internal server, let it play through, analyzes it, and then classifies it, and then sends it out to its to protect for everybody. So the ability to detect zero-day malware is probably one of the most differentiating, distinguishing factors for MTP products. Great, it's good that you can detect stuff that's known. A lot of people do that. Yeah, but even seeing the industry as a whole is challenged in even that regard, but particularly zero-day malware, that's a real bugger. 83.3 is an excellent score, well above average of what was expected. And what you'll see is over time, of course, the zero-day malware becomes no malware, then it becomes 100% detectable by Checkpoint, and it looks like it becomes, yeah, maybe about 66% detectable by the rest of the industry. Sensitive information protection. I think this is another key distinguishing factor, you know, why this product over another product. This includes things like data exfiltration. So there's just something unusual where a lot of data, a lot of information is leaving a data store, whether it be in the cloud or your corporate environment, business you're working with, what have you, just a lot of information. Why is their database, you know, going out over the 3G, 4G network? You know, why is that? Why is my sales contact list leaving this way? So data exfiltration, huge. The ability to go in the device and take personal information, the ability to go in the device and get and the information that you have stored on that also. So data exfil protection is a key differentiator. Checkpoint scoring 100, and about half the vendors, 50%, offer that same information. So you'll see hit miss. One area, unsecured network traffic, that's kind of a staple of MTD products. We see a lot of vendors doing unsecured network traffic detection. Checkpoint, they took a little hit in there, but that's also because that test was with Checkpoint's VPN disabled, and they don't recommend that. But we made them do that for this test to do some analysis. With their VPN enabled, they actually score 100% because there is no unsecured network traffic. So with that being said, still overall 98.3 Checkpoint, 58.8 for everybody else. Next slide. Okay. Protective features for phishing, zero-day phishing, malicious URLs. Wow, there's so many key differentiators. This has to do with web browsing, secure web browsing, and detecting this is a site I shouldn't go to. A lot of the vendors, and they come in at 61%, they wait until the malicious activity happens. If they can detect it, a lot of them, if they can detect it at all, a lot of them wait until you go to the site, which you shouldn't be going to, and downloads malicious stuff, and then maybe it detects it 61% of the time. Look at Checkpoint, 100%. Stops me by the URL lookup. Hey, that's not a good website. Stops me by the IP address reputation. Yeah, we know that's a problem. Don't go there. And does other things with the website from a traditional secure web gateway approach. Gives you like a secure web gateway umbrella over your mobile device, which is a really, really nice feature. I've wanted this for a long time. Like the last 2 years, this is our third year doing this review. Our last 2 years previous, this was the single most area missing out of most products on the market today. And it's industry is coming up at 61%, but Checkpoint taking the lead at 100. Network attack man in the middle, as Yael mentioned. Now, this is a staple of MTD products. I expect a lot of MTD, if you're doing it, you better darn well detect if there's a man in the middle going on. I'm at that Starbucks up. It's not really Starbucks landing page. It's not really Starbucks Wi-Fi that you're connecting to. You're connecting to someone trying to steal your information. And then they're relaying it through their computer over to the Starbucks real Wi-Fi. So a lot of them detect that. But what's key here, the ability to prevent, to stop it. It's one thing to know it. It's another thing to actually stop it. And Checkpoint stops it 100% of the time from occurring. You cannot, it won't allow it. Half the time on the competitive products, you can still go through and mess and make that mistake of going and making yourself vulnerable. Device vulnerabilities, another staple set of products. Basically, does the device, after I put the MTD product on, does it have some vulnerabilities? Is it out of date? Does it have malicious apps? Is there something wrong with the device? I want to scan the device when I'm putting on, are my settings screwed up, what have you. Checkpoint does an excellent job at 100. I expect all MTD vendors to do that. I want to call attention to malicious profile prevention. This is absolutely critical. It's probably one of the most popular and effective ways of exploiting somebody using an iPhone. Ask Jeff Bezos, he'll tell you. The malicious profile protection, if you are lured to a landing page, a website, and oh yeah, download our software or do this, it will ask you to, do you want to make a profile to make it easy to access this? So your iPhone will be asking you to make ulterior profiles with special permissions. And as Yael says, oh yeah, do you want to have access to your contacts? Do you want to access your location? Do you want to give them access to your banking information? No, it's crazy. So the malicious profile prevention is a way that hackers and malicious actors can get full access to your phone, including remote control. It is the most important feature that I want to see for iPhone protection, and only 60% of the vendors offer that feature 100% through Checkpoint. User control. Basically, I want things in compliance. I want to provide access needed, but not things that do not need to be accessed, reporting when there's a problem. So I want to have users have control of what they need. I want them to be in compliance with the policies that we have. And I also want to allow access. You know what? Let this person do this. I don't want it so locked down and rigid that people can't do their job. Look, I need to grant an exception in this case. Conditional access can be granted by individual or by group. So a lot of flexibility. So a lot of control, yes, but also delegating that to the user and allowing it to be an efficient working environment is absolutely crucial. So user level control. If it's not usable, people aren't going to like it. They're not going to use it. They're going to turn it off, or they're going to use something else. They're out. I'm going to use my other phone. Doesn't have this on it. So you want to have user to feel empowered to make decisions for themselves. Checkpoint allows that 100%, 70% with the competitors. This about sums up our study very well. If you look on the bottom, on the horizontal axis, as you move over to the right, or as you move to the right on this chart, on this grid, the cost is less per 100 users. The most effective, the most cost effective, the least expensive solutions are over to the right. The most effective at blocking, the most effective at user access control, the most effective quality of experience, the best protection measured products are at the top. So you want to be at the top right, upper right of this quadrant here, where you can see Checkpoint faces very competitively in the pricing, right about in the middle of major players here. But look at that quality of experience based predominantly, very much so, on detection efficacy, time to learn, time to protect. I mean, checks all the boxes and really did outstanding in testing throughout. A lot of the well-known vendors in the space, all coming in about the industry average of a 75.7. It's kind of where we expect them to be. We're looking to raise the bar on all these vendors together. Some vendors that cost a lot more. This is what really got me. Look at some of these closer to the center that cost a lot more, yet their quality of experience, their ability to detect overall how well do they do what they're supposed to do, not so good. So there needs to be an adjustment made here. So we challenge all the vendors to try harder, to listen to our advice and to improve the product, because we want everybody to do better. We want everybody to do better and to keep challenging. We can't just stay complacent in this market. This is not just competitive with each other, but we're competitive with the threatscape, and we need to keep pace with that. Hats off to Checkpoint and their research teams for continuing to develop the product better and better. So based on our findings and achieving above 90% in each one of our evaluated categories, we're very proud and pleased to present Checkpoint SandBlast Mobile with the Miercom Certified Secure Award. It literally outperformed all of the competitive products. Now, that's not a requirement for certified secure. Scoring 90% or above in each category is, but in this case, Checkpoint really ran circles around all the competitors in the space, did achieve all the requirements for achieving certified secure, and is recommended by our lab. And our report is downloadable off the Checkpoint site with that link below. If you want to read about the testing, more about the methodology, why we think these things, I love feedback. Any feedback questions you have, you can hit the Q&A button down below at this webinar. You can also email us or contact us through Checkpoint. We're happy, and we love your feedback.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you so much for the very thorough explanation on how you guys performed the test. We are very humbled. We're very honored to have received the Miercom Certified Secure Award, and not for the first time. I've shared the link to download the report on the chat, so anyone who hasn't read the report, you can also look at the chat if for some reason you cannot click on the screen itself, even though the link is clickable. And I'd like to wrap it up by saying something that I think it's important. Checkpoint as a cybersecurity leader, for us it's really, really important to submit ourselves to scrutiny by third-party independent testing organizations that can prove the security efficiency of our solutions, that can prove the quality of experience. But equally important is to receive the trust of our customers. And we are proud to say that today, thousands of organizations worldwide of all industries and all sizes secure their mobile devices with SandBlast Mobile. Here are just some of our public case studies, which you can find on our website. So to summarize this exciting webinar we've had today, mobile devices expose corporate data. The ever-evolving threat landscape has become mobile. Hackers know that. Mobile devices are the backdoor to organizations, and they're making a use of it, which makes protecting against mobile threats no longer optional. If employees are accessing corporate data via mobile devices, then those devices need to be secured. And finally, SandBlast Mobile is the right and is the best tool to do the job. Thank you so much. And now we'll open it for Q&A. I see that there have been some questions throughout the webinar. Some of them we have answered them by text, but we'll go ahead and read some questions and we'll answer them together. So I see that there are several questions about handing out the slides and the webinar recording. Yes, you will receive those in the upcoming days. You will be able to receive the webinar recording and the slides, and it will also be available on our website. This is answered. How can we automate the containment of mobile devices upon detection in real time? So SandBlast Mobile has a feature, a unique feature and capability called conditional access, which is independent of UEM solutions, where depending on the policies that are set on the dashboard by the IT admin, we can block the access to corporate applications if the device is at risk. So one would configure the policies that would entail that a device is at risk, and should the device be at risk, then the corporate access would be blocked.
There's another question here. If I could hit this one, Yael.
Yes.
It calls out that Microsoft also launched the Intune MTD solution for mobile as part. Do you have any comments on that? Yes, we're aware Microsoft has a solution. Note the solution was not available at the time of testing when we did the MTD review. However, they are, and they will be tested in this year's analysis, as will Checkpoint. So we look forward to seeing how well they do. One key point to that, though, is you also know Microsoft made a sweetheart deal with Lookout. You see where Lookout is on the current chart. They were evaluated Lookout, so some of the technology we believe might be related to Lookout. We did test Lookout by themselves already, but we look to see how Microsoft implements this and if they have other solutions integrated with it possibly. So we will see this year's study how Microsoft does. Thank you.
There's another question here, Rob, that you may want to answer. How was the research funded and by whom?
Oh, good question. Research, bottom line, it's funded by you, viewers, people that hire our consulting, people that buy reports, people that look for guidance. This is a non-pay to play. Every vendor represents themselves. Every vendor has an opportunity to represent themselves. No vendor has to pay any money to come into this test, as well as this year's test. So anyone that says, oh, we don't want to, it's free. You can come in for the review and be reviewed under this technology. You having a solution that you purchased can submit it for review as well. Our preference is to let the vendor represent themselves. Now, with that being said, we do offer consulting to enterprises and to vendors, how to improve the product. We do offer reports customized. We have professional writing services. So we have to make money somehow. So of course we will offer other services which we think are valuable. I am not being paid for this webinar, and Checkpoint did not pay for these great findings. They earned them.
I think we'll allow for one more question that asks, how did you test the zero-day exploit? Rob, I think this one is for you.
Sure, zero-day exploits are done. There's three ways. One, we actually use real 0 days collected from the honeypots, things that are not already, we check, they're not already in signature databases. So we get some things from the wild, and that's hit and miss, whatever's there, whatever's found. We also develop our own malware that we know is not known. So we'll actually make some exploits for testing purposes only. All right, just for testing purposes only. We don't release these in the wild, but we do make malware to be evaluated. And the last thing that we do to test zero-day exploits is we have specific tools which we can invoke actions which should be picked up from a behavioral analysis, from an AI standpoint, that should be detected. So with the test tools that we have, a lot of custom, a lot of proprietary, we can cause stimulus, which certainly appears like a 0 day or an unknown exploit, something strange. So three ways: real 0 days that we capture, 0 days that we make, and third is conditions that we generate with the test equipment that appears malicious, but not detectable as malware, is another way to test for 0 day exploit.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today in this webinar, Defending Enterprise Mobile Threats. Thank you once again, Rob from Miercom, for the award and for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you all in future webinars. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for everyone listening. Bye.